Welcome all. In this video, we will look at a legal case. Please don't go away yet. It's not the Snopes trial, neither is it the more mainstream and better known O.J. Simpson's trial. Nope. This is a legal case between a flat earther and a glober. Full disclosure, I have no law background. The closest I came was reading their first year books just for fun and a challenge. So any of my comments are not meant to be taken as legal advice. I did a video once talking about legal trouble for TikTok and European Data Act. That was very open and close argument. This one is slightly more complicated based. There seems to be a surge regarding this battle that happened last year. So this video I'm hoping would be ahead of the curve. See what I did there? First, a summary of this video. We will talk about the actual court case, the verdict, how it is now being presented in Flat Earth community, and finally my analysis on the verdict itself. There will be some ranting in between, and I will make some new enemies, as calling out BS is what I do. And I don't really care if they are my peer or not, and I expect nothing less in return. There is something I would like to clarify before getting to the court document. For a moment, I will play a flat earther. I issue a challenge that I would pay anyone £1 million if they can prove gravity by, wait for it, physically demonstrating water sticking to this tennis ball. In simple terms, I added some stipulations. Call them qualifier, requirements, all are same in this context. Is this an impossible challenge? Yes, I would say so. But that does not matter. When one accepts a challenge, they accept it with all the requirements given, regardless how absurd it is. Even if we perfectly model the tennis ball and give it the same mass and dimension of Earth, and then ran simulation to demonstrate that it is behaving as expected, unfortunately, it is not the same as physically demonstrating water sticking to this tennis ball, especially in a courtroom where defendant's lawyer is holding a bright tennis ball in his hand, while the other lawyer is trying to show us CGI on a computer monitor. At the end, it is not a physical demonstration. Thus, from a legal point of view, the defendant will always win, again due to stipulations. I know I was stating the obvious, but I felt it would be better to get it out of the way before we look at this document. Backstory: Zen Garcia, on his book Flat Earth as Key to Decrypt, the Book of Enoch, had issued an open challenge to prove Earth had curvature or is moving axis of 50 miles per hour, and anyone succeeding would win the contest reward. I will get into the actual stipulation later. Plaintiff William Thompson felt that he had matched the requirement, and Zen Garcia failed to pay him the reward money, and thus the legal case began. Now let's jump into the case document. We see the claim is for contract/contest. Plaintiff explains the reason of this financial claim for $15,000 US plus $96 for cost. Once being served, Zen Garcia has 30 days to file or present an answer. Failure to doing so would mean judgment by default, William Thompson would win. Then we have further documents from when both of them appeared in court and such. 5th page of the PDF document, link is in the description, we have Zen's response. First he talks about 8 inches per mile square, and then gives one example with Pythagorean theory to prove that formula. Don't worry, I will talk about this when it comes to discussing the verdict. Following is what Jen mentioned about the challenge in the court document. I'm hoping he wasn't stupid enough to lie about this part. He states, I decided to hold a $5,000 contest, a challenge to anyone that could confirm in 2 scientifically repeatable and verifiable experiments the supposed curvature of the Earth in the rate and manner cited by the accepted formula for determining such declination. It was made clear in the rules that the designated experiments must meet and fit with the required stipulations listed on the web page for measuring the rate of curvature as cited by the formula for determining such declination. Now, if you have listened to my earlier example of tennis ball and gravity, you might see a similarity, and the reason for my example should be apparent. So what was William's proof? Well, I believe he had submitted 2 videos with computer programming to show the calculation. I will talk about them shortly. But first, obviously William would lose, as his evidence was rejected due to not being applicable by the rules of the contest. Play a stupid game, win stupid prizes. I completely agree with the verdict. Before the pitchforks are out, let me give you a real reason to do so. While searching for the core document, I came across an article by someone first named David. The name wasn't clickable and I didn't feel the need to find out more about him. Now this article is probably directed at someone called Nathan Roberts. But here is David's take on this matter. The judge ruled that the plaintiff did not present sufficient evidence that there is curvature. William Menke Thompson's inability to explain the globe Earth does not mean the Earth is flat, as Nathan implies. It's like O.J. Simpson's case, where he was not found guilty of murdering his wife, but that doesn't mean that he is innocent. Look at the content of William Menke Thompson's 2 proof videos, and you can see why he lost the case. Earth is not flat, first proof. It has 2 likes in 2 months, so nobody is paying attention to this guy. Earth is not flat, second proof. It has 0 likes in 2 months. This is the level of explanation that got rejected by the judge. What a joke! And flat earthers think that this is a victory. Lol. There is so many things wrong with that whole paragraph. The only part I agree with is William's inability of winning the case doesn't mean the Earth is flat. But everything else is wrong. Unless David saw the actual court verdict that states plaintiff did not present sufficient evidence that there is curvature, I'm almost sure to say that the evidence was rejected. David links 2 videos that he said was submitted. All the links are in description. Now to me, David seems to be implying that because the videos do not have enough likes to his liking, it automatically means that they hold no merit. See, dumb people on both sides. David also mentions, I'm confident that if Simon Dan was the plaintiff in this case, then the judge would have ruled the other way. I like Simon Dan, but unfortunately, the judge would not have ruled the other way because stipulation. Before I get into why it is an impossible challenge and why it should never win in a court of law, I'll quickly address why this case lost if these were the videos presented. The first video, as described in the video itself. This proof uses datum regarding the curvature of the Earth and its rotation to adequately predict the time differential between watching sunset from ground level to seeing the time of sunset from a tower's observation deck. The second video proves the curvature by showing megastructure suspension bridge and how they are farther apart at their tops than at their bottoms. Now, being a random dude on the internet, I think both are solid proof, and in my opinion, thoroughly proves the curvature. I guess this is where I differ from David. The number of likes or dislikes has nothing to do with the principle the video has presented. For both those videos, the principle is sound. But at the same time, it completely fails on the requirement. So viewer, if you like my content, would you please do me a favor? Links to both videos are in description. Please watch, and if you feel it merits your like, please give it. At least for some people, it would then become more credible, though I don't know why. How is it being represented in Flat Earth community? Well, we have titles like Globe Debunked Legally in Georgia Court Case, 2019 US Court Rules the Earth is Flat, US Court No Evidence Earth is Curved, and so on. Use your own judgment. I disagree with every single one of those titles, and I have already stated why. Now my opinion on why this is an impossible challenge. Let's look at the stipulation again. It was made clear in the rules that the designated experiments must meet and fit with the required stipulations listed on the web page for measuring the rate of curvature as cited by the formula for determining such declination. And the formula cited is 8 inches per mile square. First of all, that formula is not accurate, and to make matter worse, its error margin is variable, and it gets worse over distance. I have a video explaining this formula in great length. Instead of just saying it's a parabolic, I plotted numbers on a spreadsheet in an easy to follow way for this formula. Then plotted the result to see what kind of shape this formula gives us, and finally comparing that shape to a sphere. There was a site that shows the error margin graph over distance. If I can find it, I'll link it in description. So my first point, the equation that we are meant to use is not accurate to begin with. Civil engineers used it in past for smaller distances, on which the error is not significant enough for their purpose. Obviously, the example Zen provides to compare this value is for 1 mile using Pythagoras and shows how it matches row bottom. Another dishonesty, though this is negligible due to the value used. Translating Pythagoras, Zen correctly comes to drop equals square root value of radius square plus distance square minus radius. Then he proceeds to use 1 mile as a distance or the arm A, whereas in reality, A is not distance. The distance we calculate on Earth is the arc length, but for a mile the difference is tiny. Let's be big boys and use a bigger number. I don't know, let me think of a completely, utterly random number for no reason. Say 10,018 kilometers? Well, let's say that in miles to make it easy for the formula. 6,225 miles. Putting that value for 8 inches per mile squared gives us, drumroll, 4,892 miles. Now those eagle-eyed viewers have noticed that I lied. That number I plucked up was not random at all, but it was 1/4 of Earth's circumference at equator. 1/4, i.e. 90 degrees of a full circle. Which means what flat earthers call a drop is just the radius at equator for that distance. Well, it is 3,963 miles. So 8 inches per mile squared formula was off by, let me see, 929 miles. That is an error margin of 23.4%. So, we're supposed to prove the curvature using this formula. Okay. I do not have access to the book in which Zen issued his challenge. Now suppose the challenge also mentioned the bad application of Pythagoras. The defense can also bring that equation as part of the requirement. And I did say bad application, right? Next problem. Did you notice that the stipulation negates any atmospheric refraction while asking for repeatable and verifiable experiments? Now, this is not a dig at the judge or jury system. I am a layman, and if there were a jury system that I was called to, I would be amongst my peer, other ordinary people from day-to-day life. Think about yourself. What does repeatable and verifiable experiments mean to you? To me, reading about how acid reacts is one thing. Putting a litmus paper and showing the effect is repeatable experiments. Maybe it's because my degree, but I have always treated simulations as a prediction of what should happen. And as our simulation may be incorrect as well, we would build a small-scale model to test it before the actual structure. Even without that, I believe a jury would be more inclined to believe in something visual and physical rather than a long document with equations. This is why the mic drop moment by Neil deGrasse Tyson is so popular, to demonstrate gravity instead of boring equations. And yes, I am aware that my videos are often filled with those boring moments. Back to proof based on the stipulation. Due to the size of our planet, our repeatable and verifiable experiments would need distance. Zen points out to Suez Canal, and I have debunked it in one of my videos, and I can't remember which one. In any way, that proof relies on real life, meaning a real equation. If I'm forced to use a wrong equation, exactly what are my choices? Zen's example does give me some materials. Some I have addressed, but there might be some that I haven't. That will be a different video, but rest assured, it will never pass the challenge. From legal standpoint, the issue at hand is the reward, which is due on completion of the challenge while satisfying the requirements. It is not only about proving something, it's about proving something within a boundary. Just like my tennis ball example from earlier. How do we prove it within the limitation? These people are not stupid.
I bet you £1,000 solar eclipses happen every single month. The issue is we never see them because they're normally over the earth, normally over the water. There's the £1,000 Matt Taylor. Put your money where your mouth is or shut up because you don't know what you're talking about.
Fine, I take it back. Most of these people are not stupid, and a smart person should always have enough stipulations. Quick note, I guess Zen increased the reward at some point, as it seems to have started with $5,000 where the case is for $15,000. That is all for this video. Not any debunking, but it was just to summarize what happened in 2019 and the reason behind it. I stand by my reasoning that it is an impossible challenge and would love to hear your thought down in the comments. Do you think it can be done within the guideline? Looking forward to any ideas. Hope you have enjoyed this content. Leave a like, comment, and the standard stuff we all ask for. If you haven't already done so, you should subscribe to find out more contents from me. Have a safe day. Signing off.